Hey guys, welcome back to this week's edition of the Industrial Cyber Weekly Roundup. I'm Bailey, here to run you through Week 9's top stories in the industrial cybersecurity space. Let's dive in. The U.S. government published a national cybersecurity strategy that identifies a deep and enduring collaboration among stakeholders across the nation's digital ecosystem. It also imposes additional mandates on organizations that control the majority of the nation's digital infrastructure, with an enhanced government role in upsetting hackers and state-sponsored entities. The National Cybersecurity Strategy seeks to build and enhance collaboration around 5 pillars: defend critical infrastructure, disrupt and dismantle threat actors, shape market forces to drive security and resilience, invest in a resilient future, and forge international partnerships to pursue shared goals. Each effort requires greater levels of collaboration across stakeholder communities, including the public sector, private industry, civil society, and international allies and partners. U.S. President Joe Biden said that the strategy recognizes that robust collaboration, particularly between the public and private sectors, is essential to securing cyberspace. It also takes on the systemic challenge that too much of the responsibility for cybersecurity has fallen on individual users and small organizations. He added that the administration will realign incentives to favor long-term investments in security, resilience, and promising new technologies. CISA has released a decider tool that makes attack mapping more accessible. The tool takes users through a mapping process, asking them a series of guided questions about adversary activity to help them arrive at the correct tactic, technique, or subtechnique. Organizations can host Decider internally to save and share customized mappings, questions, answers, and users per install. CISA does not offer access to a running instance of Decider. Decider is currently compatible with enterprise attack versions 11.0 and 12.0. CISA also published a cybersecurity advisory detailing the tactics, techniques, and procedures of the Red Team, along with key findings to provide network defenders of critical infrastructure organizations proactive steps to reduce the threat of similar activity from malicious cyber actors. The Red Team obtained persistent access to the organization's network, moved laterally across multiple geographically separated sites, and gained access to systems adjacent to the organization's sensitive business systems. The Health Sector Cybersecurity Coordination Center, or HC3 unit, within the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services disclosed that Russia-linked ransomware group CLOP reportedly took responsibility for a mass attack on more than 130 organizations, including those in the healthcare industry, using a zero-day vulnerability in secure file transfer software Go Anywhere MFT. The HC3 alert said that prioritizing security by maintaining awareness of the threat landscape, assessing their situation, and providing staff with tools and resources necessary to prevent a cyber attack remains the best way forward for healthcare organizations. The HC3 revealed in an analyst note a threat from a lesser-known but potent ransomware variant, Medusa Locker, which could also be a source of concern and attention by healthcare security decision-makers and defenders. The Medusa Locker ransomware is currently targeting unsecured RDP servers, desktops, and vulnerabilities in the software. Medusa Locker appears to operate as a ransomware-as-a-service model, in which the developer of the Medusa Locker shares the ransomware with other threat actors in return for a share of the ransom payment. ENISA released a study to perform a systematic review of the governance models relevant to the deployment of its National Cybersecurity Strategy, or NCSS. Every EU member state is obliged, following the NIST directive, to develop and implement an NCSS to ensure fostering security of network and information systems across the Union. The NCSS aims to set out a plan of action to improve the security and resilience of national infrastructure systems and services, provide a high-level top-down approach to cybersecurity, and establish a range of national objectives and priorities. The ENISA also published a new report that explores the potential challenges faced by the OESs in the EU when seeking to acquire cyber insurance. The report focuses on the demand side of the cyber insurance market applicable to the partner cases of OESs. The analysis and results have been conducted from a methodical approach that integrates desk research, online surveys, phone interviews, data analysis, and recommendations for policymakers. To this purpose, the analysis aims at addressing different segments of the cyber insurance contracting process, namely risk management practices, cyber insurance coverage, claims processes, and opinions from the respondents in key areas such as skills. The Australian government released a discussion paper seeking views on how the government can achieve its vision under the 2023 to 2030 Australian cybersecurity strategy. The paper calls for recommendations as to what it should consider when developing cybersecurity measures to better protect and enhance collective cyber resilience, both in Australia and in the region. Interested stakeholders have until April 15th to submit their views and opinions, while identifying the need for a unified effort of government, industry, and the community to reduce the number and impact of cyber incidents through improved cyber hygiene, and provide clear advice on how to respond confidently when they occur. Australia's Cyber and Infrastructure Security Centre, or CISC, published a risk assessment advisory. It offers assistance to the transport sector to help determine which sites and components are critical, while focusing on the sector's reliance on third parties, including domestic and international collaboration, distribution centers, and independent contractors. It also outlined that safety is at the center of risk, where the prevention of injury and loss of life is built into the fabric of the sector. Large dependence on skilled labor forces, as many workers have safety-critical operational responsibilities, and collaboration with external entities, which is required to maintain domestic international supply chains for both imports and exports. The CISC also released a risk assessment advisory for critical infrastructure focused on the healthcare and medical sector. The document includes risk in the critical infrastructure context, the ability to determine the criticality of assets, interdependencies both upstream and downstream, understanding threats as a hazard for risk controls and mitigations, and offers a risk assessment methodology. Stakeholders within the sector must adapt their risk management strategies to ensure risks to the assets critical to the nation's economic and social well-being are being appropriately captured. In the wake of the first-year anniversary of Russia invading Ukraine, the World Economic Forum said that the geopolitical situation has become increasingly tense and volatile, increasing cyber risk while cyber attacks exacerbate geopolitical dynamics. The agency also assessed that given the likelihood of a prolonged war in Ukraine and of a renewed Russian offensive, malicious cyber operations can be expected as part of a concerted hybrid warfare effort. The agency proposed achieving cyber resilience as one of the biggest cybersecurity challenges. It is not a one-time or a one-actor effort, but more of a harmonized approach that stretches across borders and businesses is necessary. Nozomi Networks Labs has detected a security vulnerability in the update mechanism of the Hitachi Relion 650-670 series substation devices. The vulnerability could allow attackers to install implants that grant them persistence within victim environments. Although the vulnerability is triggered when updating the Hitachi Relion firmware using a malicious update package, there are some major preconditions to the exploitation of the vulnerability. Nozomi has identified 2 different ways of exploiting the vulnerability and has made recommendations for organizations using the Relion 650-670 to avoid exploitation while they await the patch from Hitachi. Another wild week in the industrial cybersecurity industry as regulations work their way to improve the cybersecurity posture across industrial environments. Don't forget to visit industrialcyber.co for the full stories, industry news and events, and related resources. And I look forward to seeing you again next week.